starting with 10 flights, so there's 20 stairs. We started with 200 stairs and we went down to 8. And that's at stair 2, and there were squats and squat holds in the middle of each of those sets of stairs.
How long does it take to run 200 stairs? I'm guessing the first set was 200 without stopping, right?
Yeah. I guess it depends on your mileage may vary, if you will. But it takes about 3-4 minutes. It doesn't take that long, especially. I mean, there was a large group, so it may have taken a little bit longer.
And then some people tap out, you know.
You
over to the side, it's not quite up to.
But it doesn't take as long as you would expect because I'm always like, are we done yet? And it's like, no, it's only been like a minute.
Yeah. And then I always have to have somebody in front of me that's counting because I black out after number 5. Because I'll be like, somebody please tell me what number.
What number is this? They'll be like, 6. That's it?
You're lying.
I feel like that would be the only exercise at your boot camp that I would be good at because that's the only exercise I actually get with living in this apartment.
Oh, yeah.
Running up and down these stairs all day.
Yeah. But just do it continuously.
And then the place that they're moving, Aaron is excited. Well, one of the places they're looking at, the stairs go up, over the floor, and back down. So can you imagine? Oh my God. She's like, oh yeah. I was like, oh, shit. Yeah, so I can only imagine.
I know. Quads are going to be in for the spring.
Yes, honey. What you say at boot camp? You was like, my butt better be, what you say, my butt better be bigger or something.
Yeah, I think I was like, I better have a huge ass.
Oh, yeah.
All right, let me find my notes. What do we want to start with? Actually, I'm going to start with the check-in because I have a couple of interesting things that happened to me this week.
Okay.
So after check-in, do we want to go into Bitcoin or do we want to go into
I never found the article I posted on the Bitcoin thing. I feel like we should read that because it gives a good comprehensive look at both sides of the argument. I kind of feel like we should actually prepare for that conversation because it's really in-depth and crazy. More than I actually expected it to be, but I can't find the article. I was scrolling through. I don't remember when I posted it. So
I think it's been a little while, and I don't remember. I wish there was an easier way to search.
And Messenger. Yeah.
Yeah.
You just have to.
Yeah, and hope that you don't
pass it.
Yeah. Well, why don't we start talking about the other stuff first, and we'll see how that goes, and then if we need to, we can take a break and like hastily look into the Bitcoin thing real quick, and then continue with that, or maybe spin that off into a separate episode if you all want to, or something.
Alrighty.
Yeah, where the fuck is that?
I don't know. I'll scroll. Also, does anybody else want to start the podcast today?
I think one of you should definitely start it. Did you find it?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Send it to us.
Alex again is going to be like, what are they doing?
I want to know what she's doing.
Relaxing in Mexico while also stressing out in Mexico. Yes, that is it.
I'll start next week. I wasn't prepared today. Please.
That's fine. I was just wondering if anybody wanted to. You don't have to do it.
I've been in Lexington. My mom wasn't feeling good, so I had to be in Lexington. My brother was out of town, so one of us liked to be close.
Yeah, of course.
So,
how's she doing?
She's better now.
That's good.
Yeah.
Hopefully the sun will take away all of her.
My daddy's gonna take a ride today, so she'll be gazing up at him. She'll be just fine.
Can I play the pump up song before we start? I don't know how much this is going to pump us up, but this is a good song. Sir?
Wayne knows about this.
It just came out.
Love.
Right?
They bad. Whoop their ass.
Here's my baby mama.
Charles Entertainment Cheese.
That's a good one. Fuck your head.
Okay,
Give yourself a high
I
five.
thought that song was pretty good.
Yes,
I like it.
Definitely pump up worthy.
Kind of pumped down, actually. It's a little low key, but
No, I'm into it.
all right.
I'm into
I
it.
like it. I need that.
Count me down.
Ready to go in 5, 4, 3, 2.
Welcome back to the Queen Cast.
Hey.
This is Soha, and I'm joined today by Deborah and Michael.
Yes.
Hello.
How are y'all doing?
Great. All is well.
I feel like such a caveman because the sun is out today, and it doesn't matter how much I evolve or become enlightened. When it's sunny, I feel good.
Of course.
It's so basic.
So you saying you're basic,
I am
You're a
today.
basic caveman.
I am a basic caveman bee.
but you're definitely not a basic bitch. I wouldn't put you in that category.
Well, thank you.
Yes.
Yeah.
When it comes to sunlight, though, I feel like a basic bitch. 'Cause I'm just like, oh, it's sun. I like it.
Oh, yes.
Does it make you
is.
want to like put on Uggs? I don't know. Isn't that a basic?
No.
Isn't that a basic bitch thing?
Kind of, yeah, but I know nothing makes me want to put on Uggs.
Okay.
Uggs and sweatpants, basic bitch.
Yeah.
With
With
the
Pink on the ass.
Yes, and then the Victoria's Secret's pink hoodie. It says
Yeah.
pink down the back. That's
Yeah.
the basic bitch grocery store
That is the
outfit.
uniform.
Yeah.
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 I've never worn that, and I have
Yeah.
no desire to. And if you ever see me in that, feel free to kill me.
You've been cloned.
No, something's happened
Allegedly.
that's bad because I feel like even my clones would know better than that.
Yeah.
But if you see me in it, just kill me because I've either been taken over by some sort of alien that is
Right.
making me do something that I don't want to do, or it's a cry for help and I just need to be killed.
What was all the rage about those boots? I mean, people just go crazy about them. I don't like them because they look dirty.
They always look dirty, right? Like
Yeah.
fresh out the box.
They
you're
just
like,
look,
"Oh."
and they look laid over. My grandmother used to say laid over to the grand jury. You know how people with their the shoes be laid over, bent in. She'd be like, girl, them shoes are laid over to the grand jury. She was like,
You know, they used to be made like Australia, and I think they're made out of like, I guess there's wool on the inside, and they're supposed to be really soft. I've never tried on a pair, but they're just made in China now, and
well, that
Yeah.
explains it.
yeah, so I have no desire. And if you are in your Ugg boots listening to us right now, you're cool. We like you.
Yeah,
Keep
of course.
listening.
It's only our opinion. It doesn't mean anything.
Our
Yeah.
listeners are exempt from us hating on them. So
Yeah.
Yeah, and honestly, it doesn't matter what it is. If you like it, and if you love it,
Exactly.
wear it, know it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Who
Yeah.
cares what anyone thinks?
Mm-hmm.
You live your life according to what we think. You're never going to be happy.
Or what anyone thinks.
because our opinions are
Right.
terrible. So,
No, our opinions are wonderful, but they're exactly that.
Yeah, opinions, and they're like assholes. Everybody has one.
Exactly.
yep. Some are
Is
higher
that
than
actually
others.
true? Does everybody actually have an asshole?
Yes, unless it's been sold in. Never mind.
Oh yeah, dude. Is this
It's
gonna
like-
be?
Unless it's been sold up and you have a colostomy.
Okay. So
Is-
they do sew it up when that happens.
Yeah. Well, they reroute everything, but I've seen some that were, you know, sold.
Welcome to another episode of Deborah Teaches Soha what anatomy is.
Hey, I know what an ileostomy bag is.
Well, yeah.
That's the most important bag.
It produces liquid shit.
Mm-hmm.
Liquid shit. And welcome to the Queen. Liquid shit.
Liquid shit. We talk a lot about liquefying things.
We do.
We do.
Milkshakes and
Solids aren't good
milkshakes,
enough.
Or what is it, meat milkshakes? Something like that.
Yeah.
It's usually Alex who brings up the liquefaction.
The
of things that
liquefaction.
don't need to be liquefied.
Yeah.
Like meat.
Yeah.
True.
So, anyone have anything interesting happen this week to them?
Not that right offhand. I didn't.
No. I did make chili today.
It smells
the
really
two-
good in there.
The two of you already know that, but I'm not really a chili person, but once in a while I'm like, I should make some chili. Usually it's a little colder outside than it is today because it's like springtime outside today.
Right.
But I woke up this morning, I was like, I'm gonna make some chili. So I went to the grocery store and bought stuff to make chili, and it is in the kitchen simmering as we speak. And I added dark chocolate to it. So pro tip, Deborah tried it. She said it was good.
Yes, and it was good. And being a person of that likes spaghetti in her chili, I know that is like everyone. That's a debate. That has happened.
Yeah.
Do you
I
put
like
spaghetti in your chili? I do, and I like it. But Michael's chili was on point, and I usually put sugar and hot sauce in it. But it didn't need any of that. I'm like, you go for it.
It's already got a lot of hot sauce. Sugar I didn't think about, but I'll add it. I don't care.
No, the chocolate made it sweet.
I didn't put noodles in it, but I'm with you. I do actually like noodles and chili. I just forgot.
Oh yeah, it
So-
was good.
I also like avocado on chili.
What?
It's good.
I wouldn't knock it because I love avocado.
Yeah, put it on your chili. It's actually, I mean, obviously it's healthier for you than sour cream,
Yeah.
but it adds a creaminess to it that is more interesting than sour cream.
Oh yeah, and a little
Okay.
hint. If somebody want to give me something for Valentine's, no flowers, I'll take avocados. Because that's
Yeah.
expensive. I'd rather have to eat them.
Yeah.
Keep your chocolate and flowers
To
and
keep-
avocados,
Yes.
but also bring the chocolate.
Yeah. Okay. So related to the chili, I have a question, and Soha, I don't think you're going to be able to answer this. I'm just going to put that out there. But Deborah might, and one of our listeners might. It involves cooking. So.
No, I watch a lot of cooking shows.
Okay, so you might. I've got a really old gas oven, and on the lowest setting, it's still too hot for a proper simmer. It still comes to a boil, and not as much what you would consider simmering. So I'm trying to figure out what I've been doing is cooking it for a little while on low, and then just turning it off so that it doesn't just boil all the goodness out. So is there a way you can diffuse the heat on a stove on the lowest setting if the lowest setting's too hot to bring it to a proper simmer? Do you have any idea?
No, sir.
Okay.
I cannot answer that question.
I imagine that if you use a different type of pot, that it might distribute the heat better, but I don't know. Or maybe you could like double pot it.
Yeah, see, I was thinking about that. I know my stove only has one size burner, and there are burners. Some stoves have burners for that kind of thing, but mine doesn't. Mine's just a cheap-ass bullshit stove that my landlord put in here like he did everything else. So I don't think a good simmer is in the cards for that particular stove, but I figured there's got to be some kind of life hack for it, but I didn't understand a lot of what I looked up on the internet because I'm just not a heat scientist or whatever. So,
do they have those heat scientists?
yeah, I mean, yes, somebody has to
If you're a
understand.
heat scientist, please let us know.
Yeah.
Yeah, is that what you are called? Or is there a more technical term?
It's I don't know.
So I've had an interesting week. Are we done with your stove?
Yeah, nothing else happened to me, and I'm sorry that was boring, but
No, but it's a good question. So all of our smart people out there in their Uggs can hopefully answer your question.
yes.
Yeah.
But I've had an interesting week. Obviously, I've done like my usual work and work out stuff, but there was a concerted effort this week to try to get me to run for office. And
Really?
And I don't know if this happens once you've like practiced law for a certain amount of time, because it seems like everybody that I went to law school with is now running for some sort of office, whether it's judge or Congress or Metro Council or whatever. But I had a few people calling, texting me, and my sister to convince me to run for either county or Commonwealth attorney in Shelby County where I live.
Mm-hmm.
And I was just like, no, I don't want to do that.
Why not?
Well, there's several reasons. One, especially with Commonwealth attorney, I've never practiced criminal law, and so I don't think I would be good at that. And the county attorney's office handles both civil and criminal cases, so I think I would be better at that. But I live in Shelby County. No one is going to vote for me because I'm Muslim and brown. And also, I think it would probably put my family in danger because I live in Shelby County and they do not like us.
Right.
So, and then that's not everybody. Obviously, I've got friends there and like good supporters, but I mean, I honestly think that it would put my family in danger more so than others. But yeah, especially my parents, because they're from India, they've got accents, and and I'm not going to say that I can pass, quote unquote pass, but I know they have it harder than I do.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't want to put anything. I wouldn't want them stop asking me. So if you've heard rumors, which I also got some texts about rumors that I was running, it's not true. I'm not running for office in Shelby County this year.
So do you feel like Oprah, people want her to run for president and she said it's just not in her to run for president?
I do not feel like Oprah for a variety of reasons, but I think I could run for office in a place that would not be dangerous. I think I could do it.
Okay, this might be a boring question, but what are the guidelines for like where you live when it comes to running for a smaller office?
You have
like
to be
that?
white.
Well, I mean, like Shelby County came up a couple times, because that's where you are. So
Right.
could you move to Jefferson County, or do you have? I'm not sure what I'm trying to ask here, but
So I think there is a residency requirement, a minimum
Yes, that's what
residency
I'm- yes.
requirement. I don't know what that is, but I assume that you have to live somewhere for at least like 6 months to a year
okay.
before you can run for office in that particular county.
What if you own property in Jefferson County?
I
though,
do
right?
own property in Jefferson County, but it is not my primary residence.
Oh.
And that's for tax purposes as well as actually true. And so
Oh.
I wouldn't want to mess with my tax stuff.
I don't want to mess
Or
around with
claiming that I live here when I actually don't.
Yeah.
Yeah. So and I think I have too much other stuff going on in my life, including the Queen Cast that I want to devote my time to that I would not be able to if I were running for office.
Okay.
Yeah. So there it is. That was my weird week. I also spoke yesterday to the Association of Women MBAs, which was interesting. They invited me because they saw one of the communications directors saw me on that magazine
Yeah.
and invited me to come speak to them.
Okay.
I was like, all right. And I talked about applying your MBA in non-business settings and making the most of your MBA program because most of the people there were students. And then I talked about human trafficking, and they had a ton of questions about human trafficking, so that was really exciting. Obviously, human trafficking is not exciting, but it's always nice to have people get involved and want to know more because it really.
So if somebody wanted to get involved in human trafficking,
call me.
Okay.
Or text me. I prefer that usually.
Okay.
I feel like if somebody wants to get involved in human trafficking, you're probably the last person they should call or text.
No, because then I'm gonna be like, oh yeah, you should definitely do that. And
Then
call
what's the march against?
Call the police on
Yeah.
the There's a lot of different ways to get involved in human trafficking. If you're in Kentucky, there are various task forces that are open to anyone. The task forces that I'm involved in Nelson and Shelby County are community organizations. You don't have to be a lawyer. You don't have to work in like healthcare or in social services to be involved. We have people who are just community members who want to be active in this area, and so we invite everybody. Louisville has a human trafficking task force, actually a few that if you look on Facebook, they've got Facebook pages, and so you can learn more about that. You can donate to, for example, Catholic Charities, which is one of the major direct service providers for victims in the state. And so there are, if you Google, there are lots of options and ways to get involved in trafficking, regardless of where you are, whether you're in Kentucky or not.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah. So that was I guess my weird week.
You had a much more interesting week than I did.
Me
So.
too.
I can tell.
Me too.
Well, what stories have you been looking at this week?
I have been following the story where the school teacher in Florida sent home the spelling test study words, and she sent the letter, the N-word was on the study guide
List.
list, but she said it was a mistake because it was supposed to be bigger instead of nigger, and she apologized, but the apology was kind of like,
Half-hearted, like,
Yeah.
everyone makes
and
a
she
mistake.
said the B, and then she also said that people were asking her didn't autocorrect catch it, and she said no. So I tried and autocorrect didn't correct it.
Really?
It didn't underline when red or anything.
Yeah,
and
she said, well, it is a word.
Yeah, she said it is a word, and then the B and the N are next to each other. Now that's what she said. That's the reason why, and a parent was very upset, and her apology was half-assed. So I suggest that she checks her spelling words next time and proofread them, and don't just depend on the computer to do it.
Yeah, and in a similar note, I was reading a story this week about a Russian fashion designer who sent a like a bouquet of flowers to, I think she's like a Russian like fashion blogger or something like that, and the note said N word in Paris, but with an A at the end.
Yeah.
Basically the Kanye West and Jay-Z song.
And most people think that it's okay to say the N word and put an A on the end. People, this is 2018. It's never okay to say it. And I know black people, we use it, I use it, but just because I do doesn't mean you can. The white man put that on us in slavery. We took the word and now we're making money off of it, and it's still not okay to use it.
Right.
And just because you deal with black people or women or men that married to black men or black women, it's still not okay to use it. Just because my single friends are getting a black D doesn't mean you can use the word nigger.
Yeah,
There it
or
is.
so you hear it in the song. Like
Doesn't mean you need to
Doesn't mean you
be.
can re-sing
Yeah.
it.
Yeah,
No, you cannot do that.
yeah.
And if you use it, and in certain situations, don't be surprised if you get hit in the mouth. And I do not condone violence, but hey, it is what it is.
Yeah.
And a lot of people really like are angered by mostly white people's, they're not allowed to use it. They feel very like outraged. Well, why can Deborah use it and I can't? And I think the perspective is wrong on that. I think it's not about me. It is about that word and its history.
And, the history and how it was meant to hurt people of color, black people, and it just doesn't need to be used. And when rappers use it, like I said, they used it to their advantage, and it's just not okay to use it. It's just not okay to use, and the blackface, and it's just not okay. And the only reason why all this stuff is going on, well, I'm not even gonna blame it on him. I just think that I think people are they feel more comfortable because their chests are stuck out now because Trump is in office, so they feel a little bit more comfortable because he's in office, so they're a little bolder. But don't let your president get your ass whooped.
Yeah.
As simple as that.
It's also, even if you don't, I guess, care about getting your ass whooped, just be respectful of other people. And I don't care how long ago slavery occurred, it is still
It's a painful thing. Yeah.
Yes, and it still affects people's lives. And then everything that happened after slavery, Jim Crow, the civil rights movement, everything that continues to happen, white people getting killed by police in the streets.
Because of their skin color.
Right, exactly. And all the economic disadvantages only because you're black. I don't care how long ago slavery was. And it's like you can't get over that. You can't. I don't know. I guess there's like this idea that black people are playing the victim when it comes to slavery.
And I work. It's a guy that I work with, and he tries to get upset because I get upset about certain things that are happening and have happened to people of color, and you can't do that. You can't. This shit happened. It's in the book. It's slavery. I mean, it's in the books. It's history. It's something we didn't make this up. Mm-hmm. We didn't make this up to be victims and want everybody to kiss our asses and this and that. This happened.
It did.
So, it's nothing that we made up, and the N-word is just not okay. And the teacher, she should have proofread her spelling test words, and you can tell she's in Florida, so she really didn't give a damn what it said.
Right.
Yeah.
Have you ever read the book Roots?
I've seen the movie.
Well, I've not seen them.
My father sit us down and My father sit us down and we watched it when we were little. Yeah.
Well, I read the book when I was little because I was a nerd.
Yeah.
La-di-da.
Since then I've unlearned reading because now I'm cool.
Yeah. Reading's for losers.
Loser.
So I purposefully unlearned how to read. But when I was a kid, I read Roots, and I think that we kind of quote unquote whitewash slavery, make it sort of clinically like, oh yes, it is terrible. But man, Roots really gets you into the physical like disgustingness of slavery, of taking a person and making them not human based on essentially their skin color.
It didn't take Roots for me to realize that.
Right. Yeah,
It
but
did.
it's a very well written book, and I have
Oh, yeah.
recommend it.
Yeah, but it didn't take roots for me to realize that, sorry, that Black people have been mistreated, are being mistreated because of our skin color. So it's just,
I saw a really, I don't know if either one of you have seen this, but at some point in the last 6 months, I guess, I saw a really interesting video. It was a rapper, and I can't remember who it is. I want to say maybe it was Common. But don't call me on that because it's been a while since I saw it. But he was giving a talk at a college and like answering questions from the crowd and stuff. And this one of the questions asked, and this is what the whole video was about. This white girl stood up and she was like, you say this word in your songs, and if you say it in your song, why is it wrong for me to sing along to your song? If you're saying it, like when I'm rolling around in my car with my friends, why is it not okay for us to do it? And he had a really good response to it. And he was like, basically, you're a white girl and you have been raised to think that everything is for you. And there are some things that you can't, in your spare time in private, you can say whatever you want, obviously, but at some point, like, the answer to your question becomes you're going to have to accept that not everything is for you.
white privilege.
Yeah, like, you don't deserve everything. So, like, this particular word, it may, like, we shouldn't even be saying it because it's got such a hurtful history, but we can, and the difference is our history, it lives through this word in some way, and yours doesn't, so that doesn't give you the right to say it because it's not yours. And he was like, he was talking about his wife, and he was like, my wife and her friends, they go out and they call each other bitches and sluts and all this kind of stuff. And that's fine for them. But as soon as she walks in, if I call my wife a bitch, I'm picking my teeth up off the floor because that word is not for me. I can never use that word in that context because I know I don't deserve it. And he was just giving a bunch of examples like that. And I thought I wish more people, or a lot of people might have seen it. I don't know, but if I can find a link to that, I'll put it in the show notes. But it was just a really interesting, and he was really sincere and like nice about it. He wasn't aggressive or rude. He was very insightful, and I thought it was just a really good video and a really good discussion that he was having with the crowd.
I think it's because the A at the end instead of the ER. I think people try, just like we were called nigger, then Afro-American, Black, African-American, all that old bullshit. They want you to, they changed the ER to an A to make it seem like it's okay to say. Just like they called us nigger. So then they was like, African-American, maybe that's okay to say. They just switching the spelling and switching the meaning of it, and all of it's crap. So just don't say it.
Yeah. Interesting side note, I once saw Common at a restaurant in Chicago.
Ooh.
Did you talk to him?
No.
How tall is he?
I don't remember. I think he was sitting down.
Just says, stand up, I gotta see. I told you.
I met Muhammad Ali at P.F. Chang's.
Oh, interesting. I once saw Martin Sheen at a Cracker Barrel in Corbin, Kentucky.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
No, he was, but someone was like, "That's Martin Sheen," and I was like, "Who?"
You win this on the grounds of specificity. Martin Sheen.
Martin Sheen?
Yeah,
Oh,
Cracker Barrel. Corbin, Kentucky.
Of all places.
Wow.
Yeah, it was very odd.
Yeah. Huh.
So I've been watching this TV show. I actually binge watched it this weekend. I've watched every episode that's there, which is a season and a half approximately, called The Good Place. You all heard of it?
No.
My sisters recommended it to me a while ago, and then one of my friends at work recommended it to me, and I had some time this weekend, so I just watched all of the episodes, and it's good, really, really good. It's really very funny, and the premise is that this woman played by Kristen Bell dies and goes to the quote-unquote good place, and but she doesn't belong there. And so it's like she's trying to both make sure she doesn't get caught, but also that she becomes the person that would be entitled to be in
Wait a
the good
minute,
place.
hold on. That comes on, wait a minute, I've
NBC.
seen that NBC,
Yeah.
Because what's his name? He played on Cheers.
Ted Danson.
Ted Danson.
Yes.
Yeah, I have seen that.
Yeah.
I've seen bits and pieces of that show. I like it.
It's really funny.
It is funny. And she does not deserve to be there.
The most interesting fact about this is that NBC is running a show that's worth watching in 2018.
True.
I thought those days were done like 5 years ago. So.
Yeah, after 30 Rock and Parks and Rec.
Yeah, Community.
Yeah, Community. Yes. Well, I highly recommend it. Although one of the things that they sort of tout about this show is that it's very diverse.
Yeah.
That
It is.
Kristen Bell and Ted Danson, and then there's another white woman who plays a robot. She's not a robot though. Those are like the only three, like I guess, main white characters, and everybody else is of color. There's a Filipino guy,
A black guy.
and then a British Pakistani. Although I don't know if she's Pakistani in real life.
Mm-hmm.
But what I was noticing about these characters is they could be replaced by basically any race, and I'm like, you can't just have diversity to check a box.
Yeah.
Like, if you want to truly use these actors for their race, then make them not just like basically a white character with a different name. And so you're like, oh look, we call this person Tahani El Jamil, so we can cast a non-white actress, but there's nothing about her character that
stands out. Yeah.
That makes her like unique,
Irreplaceable.
with her diversity.
Yeah.
She mentions that she's British Pakistani, but that's like just to establish that she's not white.
Yeah.
So I'm just like, when is anyone gonna ever really get it right? I don't know if I've seen very many shows where they do have diversity for the sake of having an interesting character for their own race, for that background, for their ethnicity, as opposed to just to like have a show that's diverse.
Yeah.
And I couldn't really think of any. Can you?
No, I can't. No.
But what you did remind me of, this is all circling back around. Do you remember the fucking show Outsourced on NBC?
I do, yes.
Boy, that show was a problem, huh? Not only was it a bad show, it was super fucking racist.
Yeah, I don't remember all of the specifics of that show, but the premise, I don't know if you saw it.
No, I didn't see it.
I think it was based on like a movie, was that this white guy from somewhere in the Midwest goes to India to run a call center.
Mm-hmm.
And the call center is in Hyderabad, India, or something like that.
Yeah.
And all of his employees are Indian, and obviously, like, he is white, and the other managers are white, and it's like how they deal with these pesky Indians.
But yeah, and all of the Indian characters were like super, super duper stereotypes. They were just like cartoonish, like Looney Tunes, which was the problem.
It's like if you had never truly met an Indian person but watched a lot of The Simpsons.
Yeah.
How you would decide, like, oh, this is what Indian people are like.
Yeah.
There's like no nuance. I think most of the actors who played the Indian characters were of Indian descent, but they were born and raised in the U.S. for the most part, and so they had like American accents, but they were playing Indians, so they had to fake Indian accents. And I don't know about every Indian American in this country, but the only Indian accent I can do is Apu from The Simpsons. That's literally the only because I can't do my parents' accents, I can't do their friends' accents. I can only do Apu from The Simpsons, which is voiced by a white guy.
Right.
And so that's basically what the actors were doing, was Apu from The Simpsons.
That's terrible.
I'm dying actually to hear your Apu imitation.
Thank you. Come again.
He did run the store, didn't he?
Which is a very accurate stereotype. But now we've branched out into other things.
But wait a minute, hold on. I got something for you.
Okay.
We talked last week, and I just like to.
Oh, there's like a physically actually something.
Yeah, I have something for you.
Purse.
Soha wanted something, and
It's a coffee mug with Apu's
I
face
just
on
love
it.
Soha so much. I wanted to bring her one.
What is this?
Wow.
Oh my God, it's huge!
I'm glad we're getting video of this right now.
Yes.
Boom! There it is.
So
it's an adult diaper.
It's so big.
She wanted one, and she said blue, so there it is.
It's not used, right?
No, and I didn't get that from work, allegedly.
Allegedly.
So how do you make it stay?
Right here. It's like, there.
Okay, it's got the little.
So she said she wanted to take pictures.
I said that before, and actually he was holding one.
Yeah, it always sounds better in your
I mean,
head.
you work with somebody that works around those. Did you not think I was going to have one?
I guess I just did not know that you would bring me an adult diaper and remember that I wanted to take pictures of it, which I don't remember saying, but I'm sure I did because I know myself.
Yeah.
There it is.
Wow. Okay.
Beautiful.
I don't even know what we're talking about before. I'm holding an adult diaper, and it is huge.
It's real big.
Show it to the camera.
Look how big it is. It's like 90% of my body.
I don't know if the camera can really capture the actual diaperness of it that I'm
Yes.
looking at up close here, but
You're welcome.
allegedly.
Hey, allegedly.
Thank you. This is a gift I will say that I've never gotten before.
You probably hope.
I am very surprised, and it will go down in history as one of the most interesting and unique gifts that I have ever gotten.
And I'm so happy I could give it. I could be that person to give that to you.
I appreciate you, Jennifer.
I went to work Monday and went in the car. I said, oh, allegedly.
You loved it a couple of dollars.
I said, oh. And I said, oh. And I've had that since Monday.
Just
and
for carrying it around in your purse.
No, I put it in my trunk. And before I got in the car and home, I said, oh, let me slide this in my purse.
What size is this?
I'm not sure.
Your size,
Yeah.
specifically.
For so hot.
I'm
There
gonna cherish this. I will
Yes.
say that. I'm gonna cherish this as a gift for my friend.
I can't wait to see it on Instagram.
I'm so happy that you saved that to do that live on the show as
Yeah.
opposed to just giving it to her as a joke.
I planned
on
that.
camera or something.
I've been planning it all week.
That was mwah.
Yes.
Let's add this to the list of why I'm not running for any sort of office.
Yeah.
Because my friends can give me an adult diaper, and I'm probably gonna put it on. I'm gonna put it on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There you go.
All right. I'm not gonna use it though.
I hope not.
That is maybe taking it too far.
Yeah.
But I mean, you held on to this for almost an entire week just for me.
Of course.
So I don't want you to be offended if I don't use it.
Come on, me. Just the look on your face when I pulled it out was beautiful.
Yeah. Priceless.
Thank
Yeah.
you. Thank
And
you.
Michael was like it. He had to take his hat off.
Yeah.
Well, I'm also really hot right now, but
It's like that's at the bottom of the
Adult diaper. It's beautiful.
it's very pretty.
Yeah.
I'll test it out if you want me to.
And then
Report back on how that
if
So it's not for you.
If it gets
True.
wet
Uh-huh.
from some type of liquid, this line turns dark blue.
Really?
Yes.
Wow. I'll let you know
Yeah.
if that's true.
Why don't you just open it up and start pouring liquid into it like they do in the commercials and see what happens?
Let's see how many gallons of liquid it can hold.
And then we'll wait.
It's for science. We're not heat scientists.
We're
but
diaper
We're
scientists.
doing our diaper science.
Da-da-da.
Always wanted to be a scientist. Preferably
Finally.
an evil one.
Yeah.
And I can't see any non-evil things that I would do with a diaper.
If
Yep.
any other podcasts are giving their cast members a adult brief, please let us know.
Don't worry.
Yeah, our competition podcast, we really just set the bar real high for them. We haven't talked about that on the show yet, have we?
Competition?
Yeah.
What competition? Boom.
Wait,
I would drop the mic if you would not.
Oh, Lord,
actually
he'll
be
kill
playing
you.
you can drop this mic. Don't drop that one.
Okay. I won't drop any of them.
Don't
Okay.
drop any of them.
Yeah, so Deborah, you've got some friends, quote unquote friends, who may or may not have copied us.
Yes,
Correct.
I do. I was at a party a couple of weekends ago and I walked in and they was like, hey, we listen to your podcast, so we're going to do one. And I was like, but theirs is, basic.
The Ugg boots of podcasts.
Yeah, and they're drinking wine and, basic. We're different. We set the bar. So I say bring it.
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly. I ain't scared.
Yeah.
I ain't
I got my
never
adult
scared.
diaper and I'm ready for anything.
Yeah. And too bad you don't celebrate Halloween. Dress up as a baby.
I do celebrate Halloween.
Oh,
And you can
there
still
it
dress
is.
up as a baby.
Yeah.
I don't
feel
ex-
like that would be weirdly fetishized by people that I don't want fetishizing me.
And I can get you more allegedly.
Thank you. But I feel like dressing up like a baby is going to create some weird chaos in my life.
Well, you do have a soft spot for weirdos, so I feel like
Oh, God,
I feel
yes.
like there's a way for you to make
Yes.
a lot of money off of this somehow.
Mhm.
Oh, okay. Now we're talking.
Yeah.
Now you gonna show us to your sisters?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. They will have so many questions even after listening to the podcast.
They don't listen to the podcast, right? Didn't they admit that?
And they've listened to some of the podcast.
Yeah.
Yeah, jerks.
Yeah.
Straight up jerks. This is why I don't support any of your life decisions, Khalid or Shut and Sana.
Yeah.
Oh, well,
Let's pour some of their shit into the adult diaper just to punish them, and then sell it.
Their actual shit?
Yeah.
I'm
Well,
not gonna collect it.
not fecal matter.
I will. I've done it before. I do it all the time. I need a specimen.
Gross.
Deborah's the muscle on the podcast.
See me in. Where the gloves?
I can't even wipe down the counters in our kitchen because I think it's gross.
Oh, Lord.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Man, it's hard to go anywhere after adult diaper surprise.
It really
It
is.
really is.
I know it would throw you
Oh,
off.
we dig ourselves out of this one.
I know. I'm just like, I can't remember what we were talking about. Don't remember what's happening in my life.
We were talking about outsourced the show, and you did an Apu impression, which was amazing.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Mhm.
I wish there was a white person impression that I could do well, so I could like parry off of that somehow. but-
Meatloaf.
What's that?
That's a white person impression.
Meatloaf.
Meatloaf.
So I guess this has nothing to do with anything that we've been talking about, but I just for some reason remembered it. So I have noticed that my foundation yesterday and today does not match my skin, and I don't know if it's because I've got some sort of weird tan thing going on in the last
Or lack of,
day.
because
Yeah, it's like, well, yesterday my foundation was way too light, and today it's way too orange. And that reminded me that Tarte Cosmetics came out with like a new foundation line a week ago or so, and it's all light skinned foundations. So like my skin tone, yours would
Of course not.
would not be accommodated,
And I'm glad.
if you will. And they said, well, we wanted to get it to the market, and so we just put out like a small line right now, but we're going to have more colors, and people are paler in the winter. I'm like, I'm pale, but I'm not white.
no,
like, I don't
and I will never be white.
Right.
I don't care how much sun I don't get.
Exactly. And I don't know if you wear foundation, but this is like a constant issue with brands not having options for women of color with any pigmentation.
Yeah, it is hard. If and when I do wear it, I have to mix colors, and people that are not of color, they can go to the store and be like, oh.
You can go to the drugstore and just get whatever, whereas like I have to go to Sephora
Oh yeah,
and get something.
it's like a
that's
science
expensive.
project.
Yeah.
It's like, is
Although
this color?
Fenty Beauty, try Rihanna's foundation. She's got like 40 shades.
Oh sure,
and
yeah.
50 Shades of Rihanna.
Basically,
All right.
there are a lot of options, including if you were albino like Michael,
Uh-huh.
you would be able to have an option as well.
I actually tan fairly well for a white person.
All right.
I used to think that brown people couldn't get sunburned
Yes, we can.
until I got sunburned and thought it was a bug bite on the back of my neck and my forehead.
I got
Bitten
sunburned
by a dinosaur bug.
when I went to Punta Cana last year. I got sunburned all back here, and it was and it hurt like hell.
It did.
And my brother's lighter than me, and he used to always get sunburned on his nose.
Yes, and black people can get skin cancer
Of
from
course.
sun exposure as well. So if you're not wearing sunscreen,
And we do need to wear sunscreen,
Yes,
people,
but
so don't be ignorant and think that just because we're black doesn't mean we don't have to wear sunscreen. Get you some.
yes, it's not ignorance. I didn't know that you could get sunburned if you were.
But no, that's
black or
what we think. That's what we think.
Yeah, because I it just had never had an issue with it before, and then I was in Mexico and I got sunburned and I thought it was a bug bite, and my white friend was like, "You were an idiot. You were sunburned." I was like, "No, I don't think that can happen to me." I mean, I literally thought that it was not possible for me to get sunburned because I'm not white,
Right.
and it turns out I was.
Well, let me
very
speak for
wrong.
myself. I was ignorant, and I used to think that I couldn't get sunburned, but you can. Yeah,
Yeah.
you can.
Shit hurts like hell.
It
Yeah.
does hurt. I didn't like it.
No. I don't
And when
care.
water hits it, ooh.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh man. What's it like to be white, Michael?
Boring and depressing. But this was this
And it burns.
this this conversation brings me to what I'm going to start calling Michael's Tales for Modeling School, because it's something I never talk about, but
Yes,
occasionally
you
you bring up something that reminds me of my short stint when I was in modeling school. But so one of the things they taught us in modeling, I never ever find a reason to talk about any of this because it's stupid.
No,
That's exactly why you should talk about
Except for in the last few weeks, there's always something that comes up where I'm like, that reminds me of modeling school, and the happens in my head. So one of the things they taught us in modeling school was do not tan. Whatever you do, stay as pale as possible. One, because it's bad for your skin to tan, and two, because if a client hires you, they're like we were talking about with the makeup last episode or whenever that was. If they hire you, they're going to paint you the way they want you to look. So if they want you to be tan, they'll spray a tan on you, but don't show up tan because they'll think that person doesn't take care of their body. So, and then you won't get the job. Somebody who's paler than you that they can paint better will get the job.
Did you ever get any modeling gigs?
We should save that for the next time we have to talk about a trucker convention for some reason, because that would be the perfect time to bring that up.
Man, I feel like this is pulling teeth and getting these little tidbits about modeling school from you. You're turning red, which is something, thankfully, that doesn't really happen to me. Like, you can't tell I'm embarrassed because I don't really turn red.
That's weird because
you're turning red.
I am so not embarrassed by any of this. It's just
Skin says otherwise.
Well, I also have high blood pressure, but what are you gonna do?
I mean, you can do a lot of things about that, actually.
Right.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Why don't you eat more salt?
Please don't.
Yeah.
Why don't you walk around angry all the time?
Built up penetration.
Penetration, what?
I've been building this penetration up since modeling school.
Frustration.
Why do you keep saying penetration?
I said frustration.
That's a rough word. I'm sorry.
Never mind.
I didn't slip much.
Allegedly.
Mm-hmm.
So all right. So what was the question about modeling school? I can't remember what it actually was.
Did you ever get a gig?
Yes, I got one job, and I almost had a second job, but I only got one. So, and the reason I only got one was because mainly because it's a crock of shit, basically. And it's modeling school is a huge waste of time and resources and money.
Google almost any of those things.
Yeah. But it's also like the second part of that is with a lot of things, it's kind of you get out of it what you put into it. And I was too busy getting shit out of smoking weed and drinking to get anything out of going to modeling school. So
I know. I was gonna say that seems like you fit right in with the model lifestyle.
Yeah.
Except for where some people can hold their shit together, I just kind of took that lifestyle and ran with it. And so I wasn't famous enough to do anything cool with my terrible lifestyle. I would just black out and wake up on a stranger's couch like, I don't know where I am. Are you mad at me? Who are you? You know, those kinds of things were happening to me. But that's not modeling school related at all. I had one job from modeling school, and it was working at I don't even know what it's called, but it's a trucker convention at the state fairgrounds that they have.
The big truck show. Yeah.
The big truck show.
It's the farming equipment show, right?
Yeah. And the job I had there was super not interesting at all, but it was to look nice and presentable, because that's a word I say, I guess, at the Sirius satellite radio booth. This was, to show you how long ago this was when satellite radio, like before it became a product that everybody had. This is when they were just selling it to truckers and they weren't putting it in cars or anything yet. But it was like kind of taking over, I guess, shortwave radio or whatever they have in trucks when they drive long distances or whatever. So my job, it was me and this girl that I can't remember her name now. Our job was to stand there and look nice in front of the booth, so when people walk by, they saw us, and when they saw us, I guess the idea was they would be allured into the booth by us looking nice or something, and And then they would ask us questions, and we had to know stuff about the satellite radio. And I guess but we had to escort them to a second location if they wanted to actually buy it, because our booth was just the display booth. So there was there was like a CD back room where all the products were actually sold to people. Somewhere where they had, this is going to be boring to people who don't live in Louisville, but if you've ever been to the state fair, the booth that I stood at was in the big room of the fairgrounds, where with the big ceiling and all that stuff. Yeah. And the second location was that we had to walk them to was where at the Kentucky State Fair they have the competition cakes and stuff.
Oh, yeah.
If you can picture that in your head, if you're from Louisville and you can picture that. So it wasn't a far walk, but it was, the truck shows crowded, and there were semi trucks taken apart and motors and shit everywhere on display. And so it was kind of an obstacle course to get people over there. But that was my job, and I got paid $200 a day for that. And I did that for a Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and a Monday, because it was a 3-day weekend or something.
Interesting.
So that was my one job. The job that I almost had that I didn't get was for a part on a Carnival shoe store commercial, where I had to be a crate. Listeners, if you're familiar with Carnival shoes, I don't know if it's still this way because I haven't been in a Carnival shoe store since before I read for this part. But there used to be a person who would like spin a big wheel and talking to a loudspeaker and be like, "Hey," like a carnival worker, basically.
Really annoying.
Yeah. So the part I read for was for that role in a Carnival shoe store commercial, and they were basically like, just act as crazy as possible and say these lines. So I had to for the audition, I was like bouncing around the room and like, "Hey, why don't you come buy our shoes? Yeah!" And I had to and they were like, "No, can you make it more crazy?" So I was like, "Blah!" like shaking around like a Tasmanian devil to get this part. And they were like, "Okay, we'll call you back." And they never called me back. But about 6 months later, I saw that commercial with the guy who was sitting in the room with me to also audition for it. He got the part and I didn't. And I found out because I saw him in the commercial. I was like, "Oh, I guess I didn't get the part for the commercial because there's the dude that was sitting with me in the waiting."
So how crazy is it?
I don't even remember. Again, drugs. Drugs. I was probably high on fucking speed that day. So.
It's okay. Who's your favorite model? Guys, both of you.
Ooh, that's a good question.
I don't have one.
I don't have one either, really. Mila Jovovich, maybe?
I guess she used to model.
She used to model, yeah.
As an actress now.
Yeah. But I don't know, when she was a model, I was like, she was a model when I was like 12 years old, in the early 90s, basically. Right. So I was like, she's hot stuff. And boy, I couldn't be further away from being attracted to that kind of look now.
The 90s look?
The I haven't eaten in weeks, and if I eat, it will kill me because my body's not used to having nutrients in it. Which is not a slight. If you have an eating disorder, please get help. Those seriously ruin people's lives. But that's really prevalent in the modeling world.
True.
So
very true. So right now, my current favorite, I think, is Bella Hadid. I really like her. She's crazy as hell. I don't know if you all saw a video of her like a couple of months ago where she was trying to promote some shoes and she just was saying like the dumbest things ever. It made me like her more because I was just like, "You're dumb. I like you."
Right.
Yeah. And I really like Adriana Lima, who is a Victoria's Secret model.
Okay.
She's really pretty.
Okay.
Has a banging bod. I'm like, how many sit-ups do I need to do to have that stomach?
Okay.
Apparently, I don't know because I don't have that stomach and I do a lot of sit-ups.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. I did watch like the first 10 seasons of America's Next Top Model. That is one of my favorite TV shows of all time. I haven't seen it in years, but
you should see Australia's Next Top Model. It is very good.
Is it?
Yes.
I believe it.
As is Canada's Next Top Model.
Yeah, and I used to tell people that. They're like, "Why do you watch that show?" And I'd be like, "Fun fact, I went to modeling school." And they're like, "What is wrong with you?" I'm like, I thought it would be a great way to get rich quick. It was a great way to make $600 in 4 days. That was pretty much
That's
wasn't
getting
know
rich
that.
quick, right?
Yeah. Well, after you spend like $5,000 to put yourself through all that.
Oh, idea. Let's start a modeling school.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, we can do that. Be like,
So I've got some ideas for her and I.
yes, we're gonna write a fitness book,
Perfect.
fitness ebook, because I don't know when we publish it besides Amazon, self-published. But yeah, I was doing something and I was like, I should write a fitness book, and then I was like, I should have Deborah write it with me because she's like more into the mindset of fitness than I am.
Yeah.
And I like to write. So
Oh yeah.
I think it would be a good collab. I have my outline.
And all the words will be spelled correctly.
They will be, and all of the grammar will be correct, and I'll try to ensure that the word penetration doesn't show up anywhere.
Well, shit, I ain't doing it with you then. If I can't have penetration in there. And the word D.
This will be a very odd fitness book.
Vitamin D.
There's a market for that. So
There's a market on Amazon for romance novels between humans and dinosaurs. Then there's probably a market for erotic fitness novels.
Speaking of erotic,
Hell, now that you say it like that, an erotic fitness novel sounds way up my alley, as a matter of fact. So
speaking of erotic, for the last 3 Wednesdays, I've been taking an erotic high heel class, fitness class.
Really?
Yes, where you start off I start off in high heels, but by the end of it, I'm in socks because I do have to go to work the next day. But yeah, they teach us moves. I'm trying to get a boo for Valentine's. I need a Valentine's boo. So they teach us all these erotic moves while you're in high heels.
Huh.
And you wear your fishnet stockings with your booty shorts, aka Daisy Dukes for people that don't know, with your little tank top, and it's a room full of women. We just go in and let have.
It seems awful for your feet.
yeah.
Like the first two, I mean, I walk in high heels, but yeah, I'm in my socks.
Right.
You know, yeah. Mm-hmm. Now the younger girls, yeah, they pound in and out in their heels. I'm like, and I don't plan on being in heels when I use it. So I will be in them on carpet.
Right, yeah.
Not on the floor.
Yeah. Who comes up with this?
I don't know. I tried to get you to go, remember? When we were leaving.
You did. No, you called it a twerking class.
Yeah, but you know.
I guess that is what it is. You didn't tell me. That
It's
there was
high heels,
involved.
yeah. It's every Wednesday at 8 o'clock. You should come.
The idea of trying to do erotic fitness moves in high heels with a large group of women
It's not large,
sounds
you know.
like hell to me.
For real?
God, yeah, because there's like all judgy and I don't know.
Oh, shit. I don't care nothing about all that.
Yeah, I don't know. I also have like no rhythm, and so
Girl, nobody's looking. Nobody's looking. Everybody's
I would
looking.
be looking and just laughing. At
Yeah,
myself.
yeah, you laughing at yourself. You in the mirror, because of course the instructor, she knows what she's doing. But you know, when she says go right, hell, half time I'm going left and talking to somebody. I'm just there for fun. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I
And
do
it-
get that part.
Yeah, but it's fun. And when you walk in, she gives you, it's trident gum, but she calls it ratchet gum. Ratchet. But when you go in and you have your heels on, and she wants you to express yourself.
What's the gum for? So you can like.
So you can
chomp
chew
on
it and be like,
gum.
yeah.
God. This is a very.
How is this not
like,
selling you on this idea?
Right.
Yeah, I know, right? But it's like such a hey, look, this is sexy, and then like you have like a bunch of boxes and you check high heels, fishnet stockings, ratchet gun.
Ratchet gun, yeah. But it's just fun, women.
It is, but
Yeah.
I can, like, what kind of guy would you attract with that look?
Oh God, no, I would
Michael in
never.
the 90s, 12-year-old Michael.
No. Mm-mm.
Nope.
Not because everybody that comes in, they have on their big sweatpants, and when they leave out, they got back on their tennis shoes and their
Sure.
yeah, but once you get in that room, it's fun. It is. And she teaches you. We was crawling around on the floor the first class, so I had to go home on Amazon and get me some knee pads. So I got me some blue knee pads. I'm ready now.
Oh my gosh. I would go to watch.
Yeah,
I don't know if I could crawl around the floor with a bunch of other people.
that's okay.
What if they were all wearing diapers?
Yeah.
Like you.
But you know what? Wait,
I'm wearing, instead of booty shorts, kind of wear the adult.
you crawl around on the floor all the time with a bunch of people.
That's true. I do.
Yes, we
And
do.
at camp,
We
yes.
do. We crawl around on the floor all night.
That's true. And sometimes you just like lay there because you can't handle anymore.
I give up. I quit.
Yeah. So adult diaper, high heels.
Fishnets, ratchet gum.
Mm-hmm.
That's a look right there.
Yeah, how big
You're
does
sending
my
the
hair need to
message.
be?
Just poof.
I think I like that, so it's cool.
Oh yeah.
On that note, how long have we been talking?
An hour.
Okay.
Ratchet
Is that
gum
good? Ratchet gum, big hair, fishnet stockings, and high heels.
and booty shorts.
Some booty shorts and or adult diaper. Adult diaper optional. And by optional, I mean you should wear one.
No.
No? I was going to say people should send us pictures of their adult diapers, but then I was like,
No, don't do
You're-
that.
you're
I don't
just
want to see
Dying for this to get dark and weird, huh?
Yes.
I want the fact that I received an adult diaper to not be dark and weird. Let's normalize adult diapers. Let's do it, guys.
Yeah, okay. All right.
But let's not send the Queen Cast pictures of you in an adult diaper.
I'm just going to delete all these pictures from my phone real quick.
You never
No,
know.
you're
It's
not.
probably
No, I'm not.
fetish. I bet if you go, I bet.
I'm
It's
not
a
going to
fetish.
Google, but yes, I bet it is a fetish
Yeah.
as well.
I'll Google it.
You know he will. I bet it is.
Wait, what am I Googling?
People that like to wear adult diapers.
That's exactly what I'm typing in.
Yep.
People
Yeah, you never know.
that like to wear
My picture comes up, so help me God, I did not put it there.
adult.
And this is the first time I've ever
Diapers.
held an adult
Let's see what
diaper.
happens.
She's lying.
The first results I see are all boring and not what
Boo.
I was hoping to find. But
Yeah, I was expecting much more graphic,
Yeah.
disgusting stuff.
yeah, I'm scrolling through. I'm not seeing anything graphic or disgusting.
You might have like the Google like
Safe search on?
Yeah.
Not in this apartment. How am I ever going to watch my naked yoga videos?
your personal yoga videos.
I wouldn't watch those. I can see myself do naked yoga anytime. Actually, I can't because I will never do yoga. But
Yoga hurts whether you got clothes on or not.
Yeah, I can't even like that's like my people stuff, and I can't even touch my toes. So yeah, no yoga for me.
Stretching sucks, but you must do it.
yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
All right. Well, we have I think concluded another hour of the most random stuff that you could ever expect come out of the mouth of us three people.
That's always my favorite.
Yeah, but it's
Yes.
good. It's good stuff.
It is good stuff. And if you like what you've heard, or if you've been disturbed by what you've heard, which is possibly more likely.
Either way, thank you.
For listening.
Thank you for listening, and give us a shout out on social media or via email. You can find us on Instagram at the.queencast.
And at Twitter at the Queencast.
TheQueencast@gmail.com. Or is it just Queencast? You think I know this?
No,
I-
the Queencast.
The Queencast. Thank you.
And on Facebook, the Queencast.
Yes, give us some support, some shout outs, some love. We'd love to hear from you all. It makes us feel less lonely in our adult diapers. So say hi.
And if you want a shout out, if you need a sponsor, we will sponsor. So send us some stuff so we can sponsor it.
Yeah.
Yes, if you've got some pigmented foundation, I would love to try it. That's gonna actually make me not look white or orange.
I've got a question for our listeners based on some behind the scenes stuff we've kind of been talking about. Listeners, if you can think of places where where our podcast should be exposed on the internet, if you're on a
Sarah's not really black.
yeah,
I'm African American. Damn it.
but where we should get exposure, where we should expose ourselves to other people on the internet, could you let us know? We're kind of only on the big four social media platforms at the moment, but there are others where people are, and we've been kind of looking into where should we market the podcast. And so, listeners, if you're on a hot social media site in 2018, like an up and coming site or something that maybe hasn't gotten much play on the internet so far, let us know so we can look into branching out to other places so that our audience can grow.
I like that when you said branching out, your arms raised, like anybody
Yeah, the
who's just listening would understand what that meant.
I
Or could see it.
no, but our listeners should know that I am a tree firmly planted in the earth, and my arms are the branches that reach to heaven.
Well, all right.
So dumb.
And on that note,
God said
That's
queen
it.
cast.
Queen cast.
yeah.
You just said queen cast, yeah.
Queen cast. Yeah.
I like that. Yeah.
That's fun.
That was- I